But as proud as we should be of these victories, we can't afford to let up in our fight, because the damage done by the great Bay Street, Wall Street ripoff is far from repaired. In fact, brothers and sisters, think about this fact. U.S. companies have reduced their industrial workforce in America by 2.5 million during the last several years. And coincidentally, they've increased their offshore jobs by nearly an identical 2.5 million. If that don't piss you off, I don't know what does. How did that happen? How did Wall Street get away with exporting our jobs and wrecking our economies? How did they get away with sticking it to us and sticking us with the tab for their billionaire bonuses? We need to think about that this week and in the days to come. Let me suggest to you, brothers and sisters, they did it by enlisting our leaders in both our countries to sell us a bill of goods. Our leaders have told us time and time again that we live in two of the greatest democracies in the world, that we enjoy unprecedented freedoms. Now, I've lived in both those countries, and I love them both. But let me ask you pointedly, is a person really free who doesn't have a job? Are working people free if their children are sick and they can't afford health care? Are retirees free when politicians try to rob them of their Medicare, their pensions, and in fact their very dignity in life? Don't get me wrong. Democracy is a great thing. You know what they say about democracy? They say democracy is like sex. When it's good, it's great. But when it's bad, it's still pretty good. But don't let anybody tell you that democracy makes you free by itself. That's what the Bay Street and Wall Street billionaire crowd is constantly trying to sell us. That's what their cronies in D.C. and Ottawa want us to buy. What they want us to buy is that all we have to do is exercise our right to vote, and that should make us feel good and that should make us feel free. If they had their way, they'd want us to vote and then go sit off in the corner and be quiet and let them run our countries and let them run the economy. But make no mistake about this. They're dealing from the bottom of the deck. Now, not all of them are that way. Not all the leaders are card sharks. In fact, there's a lady who's going to be on this stage today who's got more brass than most men that I've ever met. And if the Senate had passed and had the guts to pass what she got through the House of Representatives, we'd all be thanking her today because she would have saved millions of jobs. She's a leader who never backed down. She's a leader who never backed down, no matter how cruelly, unfairly she was vilified. I'm talking about a woman who will be with us later this afternoon, the former Speaker of the House, the current Minority Leader of the House of Representatives, the best speaker ever, Speaker Nancy Pelosi. But the sad truth, sisters and brothers, there aren't a lot of Nancys out there. Too many of our leaders don't have half her mettle. Too many of us would have us believe that we can have our freedoms without a fight. And in many ways, that's the biggest lie of all. Because sisters and brothers, we all know, don't we? Freedom is not free. It comes at a price for working people. It comes at a price when only the sons and daughters of working people are being asked to risk their lives to defend us. It comes at a price of our willingness to fight for our rights, to stand up and stand up for those rights every step of the way, not once in a while, but every day, instead of sitting on our hands while corporate billionaires continue sticking it to us year after year. Think about it. Think about how real democracy is created. Real democracy is created by workers who are willing to stand up and fight. Workers are willing to stand up and fight even when the odds are dead against them. Poland wasn't liberated from communism without a fight, and that fight was led by workers, and that fight was led by a union called Solidarność, Solidarity. Nelson Mandela spent 30 years in a South African prison while workers and their unions marched and rallied to get his freedom and theirs. Mahatma Gandhi didn't write letters to the British Queen complaining about his oppression. He withstood the blows of the British oppressors as he marched day after day across India barefoot. And Dr. Martin Luther King was marching with public sector workers who were on strike in Memphis the day before he was shot to death. Freedom for them and their people was not free. In fact, it robbed Mandela of his youth. It stole Gandhi's health, and it cost Reverend King his life. In the same way that it cost 10 of our founding members their lives at the Memorial Day Massacre at Republic Steel in South Chicago. The way that it also cost the lives of our members who were assassinated in the Little Steel strike in Youngstown, Ohio. Let me also tell you this, because I'm sure you didn't see it. You didn't see it on CNN or ABC or NBC or Canadian television. It was the labor movement and it was unions that were at the forefront of the fight this summer to liberate Egypt. Sisters and brothers, the odds in every one of those struggles were so long that many could have lost heart. Many couldn't see the promise of a better day because they were blinded by fear. And there's no sense trying to kid ourselves. There's no sense trying to kid ourselves. There were times in the past 3 years when the great Wall Street ripoff put the fear of God into all of us. And there's no questions that our ranks were battered and many of our members were bruised. But one of the many reasons I'm so proud and humbled to serve as your president, here today, because no matter how tough it got, no matter how tough the odds, our members, our members, never stopped fighting back on every front. In bargaining session after bargaining session, you fought back. In legislative fight after legislative fight, you fought back. In trade case after trade case, we fought back. And we fought against impossible odds. Sometimes we beat those odds and we won. Sometimes we got the best that we could in a bad or terrible situation. But you know what? Like I said, we never stopped fighting. And that's what inspires me and lights my fire every morning when I wake up. The knowledge that I'm privileged to be the president of a union that's got members like you. Members who'd rather fight for justice and freedom, no matter what. Members who would rather fight for justice and freedom than kiss the boss's ass. He can go to hell. Members who would rather run a politician out of office than let him turn his back on us. Members who share in the belief that enough is enough is enough. Members who believe it's time to tell politicians who won't stand up for workers, your day is done. What have we got to lose? Ask the members in Wisconsin. For some of them, their love of corporate money has already made them export our manufacturing jobs to China. They like to call that permanent, normal trade relations. Well, bullshit. What they're really doing, though, is trading away our jobs, our prosperity, and worst of all, trading away our children's future. It's no accident what's happened. And you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure it out. The Chinese have figured out that corporate executives, corporate billionaires, love a buck more than they love their country. They've offered corporate executives a deal that they can't seem to refuse. The Chinese have offered them huge profit margins that lets them live like kings at our expense and our children's future. It's not a pretty picture, but now it makes it clear what we're up against. We're up against a network of super rich from Bay Street to Wall Street who have worn a path from New York to Washington, from Vancouver to Ottawa. And you know what? They've greased every outstretched hand, that a politician's outstretched hand that they could find along the way. These corporate fat cats fatten their wallets by fattening campaign coffers of willing politicians. And you know what? They're not going to give up living like kings without a fight. They're happy the way things are. They want us to go sit off and be silent. They want us to be too afraid to stand up and fight back. Let's say hell no, and let's give them a fight. Let's do more than just fight back when they assault our rights. Let's tell them again, enough is enough is enough. We're not taking this shit anymore.